In case you've been living in a cave, haven't had access to news or social media in the last 24 hours, Sha'Carri Richardson won't be traveling to Tokyo for the Olympics. Her name was left off the roster for the U.S. track and field team. Over the weekend, I actually defended her. I thought it was ridiculous that they're still testing for marijuana at the Olympics in the first place. Of all the substances out there, marijuana is by far the least dangerous of all of them. Not addictive, at least not physically. It doesn't give you a competitive advantage. The stigma surrounding marijuana has been eliminated in this country. In most parts of America, marijuana is as accepted as alcohol. When the news was released that Sha'Carri Richardson would not be competing in the Olympics, it set off a storm of reactions. Most of the reactions to the story have been in support of her. And that's fine. But just like it always is, a lot of these reactions have went overboard. You have the typical people, the typical woke media, trying to turn this into a racial thing. Michael Phelps was photographed smoking weed. He was allowed to compete in the Olympics. They're only suspending Sha'Carri Richardson because she's black. Once again, here we are. People are reacting to something without having all the facts. There's a huge difference between Michael Phelps and Sha'Carri Richardson. And no, I'm not talking about their skin color. Michael Phelps was photographed smoking weed in November of 2008. He competed in the Olympics in August of 2008. The rules are clear, and honestly, they're really not that stringent. You're not allowed to smoke weed during in-competition periods, which begins at 11:59 p.m. the day before an event and concludes once the event is finished. I don't know how much more clear that could be. In the case of Sha'Carri Richardson, all she had to do was wait 24 hours to get high. That's it. She would have been in the clear. With Michael Phelps, he was smoking weed months after he competed in the Olympics. So he wasn't in violation of any policy. That's not so hard to understand, right? I mean, all it took was about 5 minutes of research, and I figured that one out. Salon.com posted an article yesterday talking about how racist the Olympic rules are towards minorities. How? Please explain to me how the rules are racist. There are hundreds, maybe thousands of other black people that will be competing in the Olympics. Somehow, all of them managed to pass the drug test. It doesn't matter. My personal opinion on weed, it does not matter. Like I told you guys the other day, I don't smoke weed anymore because it makes me lazy, but I have no problem with anyone else smoking weed. I don't think it should be a banned substance in sports or in the Olympics. But my personal opinion doesn't matter. The fact is, marijuana is a banned substance for the Olympics. Sha'Carri Richardson knew it was a banned substance going into the event. She decided to get high anyway. And these are the consequences. I don't agree with the consequences, but they're the consequences nonetheless. I'm not the one making the rules. We live in this society today, and this is especially prevalent with the younger generation, where people don't want to be held accountable for their actions. Oh, it's just a little weed. They shouldn't punish her for smoking weed. I mean, I happen to agree. However, like I said, it's not like Sha'Carri Richardson didn't know the rules going in. She's not the victim here. It's not like she was blindsided by this policy. The media is turning her into a victim. The Great White Olympic Committee, the Great White Anti-Doping Agency is racist against Sha'Carri Richardson. When the truth is, she victimized herself. She said she got high to cope with the death of her biological mother. Salon actually tried to take this statement and say that Sha'Carri Richardson should have never had to share such a personal story to garner sympathy and respect. But she had to because she is up against a racist system. I don't remember anyone forcing her to share this story. Sha'Carri Richardson shared that story to try and justify her actions, which is fine. It's human nature to do everything you can to defend yourself. But just because there were tragic circumstances, it doesn't mean that exempts her from the rules. If the anti-doping agency or the Olympic Committee makes an exception for Sha'Carri Richardson, then they have to make exceptions for everybody else. Now, of course, the woke media is running with this story in their usual woke fashion, once again turning something that has nothing to do with race into a racial issue. Just check out some of these headlines. Here's one from MSNBC. Sha'Carri Richardson drug suspension is the end result of racist policies. USA Today. Sha'Carri Richardson positive marijuana test, one example of how anti-blackness triumphs in sports. The notion, of course, is that testing for marijuana is prejudiced against black people because all black people smoke weed to deal with the injustices they suffer through every day, and no other race smokes weed, mainly white people. Well, once again, I did a little bit of research. I did the woke media's job for them. Since they like to run with these stories without knowing all the facts, I found the facts for them. I found statistics from the Uniform Crime Reporting Program and the U.S. Census Bureau. According to those agencies, 16% of the black population use marijuana, and 14% of the white population uses it. Now, if you factor in the margin of error, which is usually in the 1 to 2% range, that's basically the same number. So tell me, again, how is this Olympic policy racist? Seems to me it's fair to everyone. The rule is simple. Don't smoke weed during in-competition periods, and you won't have a problem. They don't care if your mother died the day before. That doesn't give you a pass to get high if you want to compete in the Olympics. If you don't want to compete in the Olympics, then go smoke all the weed you want. Honestly, I think this will end up being the best thing to happen to Sha'Carri Richardson. Think about it. Before this past weekend, had any of you guys ever heard of her? I know the media is claiming that she was going to be a rising star at the Olympics, but that's debatable, also unlikely. It is rare to become a mainstream star by competing in the Olympics. They only happen every 4 years. And each time we have the Olympics, maybe one competitor becomes a mainstream star, maybe. In all likelihood, Sha'Carri Richardson could have won the gold medal at the Olympics, and no one would have known who the hell she was. It's the same thing with Gwen Berry. The media has turned her into a hero for disrespecting her own country. Now that Sha'Carri Richardson has failed a drug test, she's become a woke media darling. She's going to get endorsement deals. She's going to make a hell of a lot more money in failure than she would have if she won the gold medal. And when you think about it, it's kind of messed up. When did we start celebrating failure? When did we start celebrating non-compliance? I don't think most people do. It's just the wokers in the media that celebrate things like that. Anything non-traditional, they celebrate. I saw a poll. 62% of non-wokers, otherwise known as people with common sense, support the ban of Sha'Carri Richardson from the Olympics. Then you have people like AOC, who are pushing for the reinstatement immediately and wanting the Olympics to change their rules 1 month before the competition begins. She wants them to change their rules 1 month before they start. Yeah, that makes a hell of a lot of sense. How do you think the rest of the world would react to that? The bottom line is, Sha'Carri Richardson knew the policy, and she violated it anyway. It's as simple as that. She victimized herself, and these are the consequences. All right, what do you guys think? What do you think of Sha'Carri Richardson not being allowed to compete in the Olympics? Do you agree with it, or do you think it's racist? Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys later.